Think back to the first time you heard your parents talk about money. Not a formal lesson, not a sit-down conversation about budgeting or investing, just an overheard moment, a comment at the dinner table, a reaction to a bill, a tone of voice when something expensive came up. Maybe it was, "We can't afford that," said not as information but as a door slamming shut. End of conversation. Maybe it was, "Rich people are greedy," said with enough conviction that agreeing felt like loyalty and questioning it felt like betrayal. Maybe it was the silence, the subject that never got discussed, the anxiety that filled the room whenever money came up, thick enough to feel without anyone saying a word. You were 7, maybe 9, maybe 12. You weren't taking notes. You weren't consciously filing information away. You were just living inside your family's relationship with money the way a fish lives, inside water, completely surrounded by it, completely unaware of it, completely shaped by it. And right now, today, decades later, that water is still inside you. The beliefs you formed in those moments, absorbed silently, never examined, never questioned, are running in the background of every financial decision you make. Every time you hesitate to negotiate your salary, every time you feel guilty about wanting more, every time you self-sabotage at the exact moment success gets close. That's not weakness. That's not failure. That's inherited programming doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this video is about finally seeing it clearly enough to change it. Here's what makes inherited money beliefs so uniquely dangerous compared to other financial mistakes. A bad investment decision has a visible consequence. You can trace the loss, learn from it, adjust. A spending problem shows up in your bank statements. A debt problem arrives as a balance you can see and address. These are surface-level financial problems with surface-level financial solutions. Inherited money beliefs operate at a completely different depth. They don't show up as line items. They show up as patterns, repeated, confusing patterns that resist logical solutions because logic isn't where the problem lives. The person who reads every personal finance book ever written, understands compound interest perfectly, knows exactly what they should be doing, and still can't make themselves do it consistently. The person who builds genuine momentum toward financial goals and then mysteriously, reliably, finds a way to undermine it right before the finish line. The person who earns more every year but never seems to have more, as if the money is flowing through a hole they can't locate. These aren't intelligence problems. They aren't discipline problems. They're belief problems. And the beliefs causing them were formed before the person was old enough to evaluate whether they were true. That's what makes them so persistent. You didn't choose them. You absorbed them. And you can't uninstall a program you don't know is running. Let me name the 5 most common toxic money beliefs that get passed down through families, because naming them is the first step to seeing them in yourself. The first is, money is the root of all evil. This one gets passed down through religious contexts, through family cultures built around distrust of wealth, through communities where financial struggle is so normalized that financial success gets coded as somehow morally suspect. Children raised in these environments absorb a direct conflict, wanting money, which every human being does at some level, becomes associated with wanting something bad, with being greedy, with becoming the kind of person your family doesn't respect. The financial consequence is a deeply embedded self-sabotage mechanism. Get too close to real money and something inside pulls back. Not consciously, not with a reason you can articulate, just a persistent, mysterious gravitational pull back toward the financial baseline that felt safe and morally acceptable growing up. The second is, talking about money is shameful or rude. In enormous numbers of families, across cultures, across income levels, money is the subject that doesn't get discussed, not because there's a rule against it, but because the emotional charge around it is high enough that avoidance became the default. Children raised in this silence learn that money is inherently uncomfortable, that financial transparency is dangerous, that asking questions about money, your own, other people's, the system's, is somehow inappropriate. And they carry this silence into adulthood as financial avoidance. They don't check their bank accounts because checking feels bad. They don't negotiate salaries because bringing up money directly feels wrong. They don't seek financial education because engaging with the subject produces the same ambient discomfort it always has. The third is, you have to work hard for every dollar. This sounds positive, responsible even. Work ethic is genuinely valuable. But the toxic version of this belief contains a hidden corollary. Money that comes without suffering isn't really yours. Passive income feels vaguely suspicious. Investing, making money while you sleep, produces a subtle guilt, a sense of illegitimacy, a need to explain or justify wealth that arrived without proportional effort. People with this belief systematically resist the exact mechanisms: investing, building assets, creating leveraged income streams that separate people who stay comfortable from people, who build real wealth, not because they don't understand the mechanics. Because on a psychological level, money without struggle doesn't feel earned. The fourth is, we're just not good with money. This one gets said out loud, sometimes casually, sometimes as a joke. But children are extraordinarily literal and extraordinarily impressionable. When a parent says our family has never been good with money, or we're not the kind of people who get ahead financially, the child doesn't hear a description of past behavior. They hear a statement about identity, about what people like us are capable of. Identity beliefs are the most resistant to change of any psychological structure because they don't feel like beliefs. They feel like facts about who you are. And you don't argue with facts about who you are. You just live inside them. The fifth is, rich people are lucky, not smart or hardworking. This belief protects the ego in the short term. It removes personal responsibility for financial struggles by attributing wealth to circumstances beyond anyone's control. But the long-term financial cost is enormous. If wealth is about luck, then strategy, education, and consistent behavior don't really matter. Why optimize something that's fundamentally random? This belief produces financial passivity dressed up as realism. Here's the deeper truth that reframes all 5 of these beliefs simultaneously. Your parents didn't give you these beliefs to hurt you. They gave you the beliefs that helped them survive their circumstances. And survival beliefs are not the same as growth beliefs. A family that struggled financially and watched wealthy neighbors behave badly needed the belief that money corrupts because it made the struggling bearable and gave the hardship moral dignity. A family that never had enough needed the belief that rich people are just lucky. Because believing otherwise would have meant concluding that the family's poverty was somehow their fault. These beliefs were adaptive. They served real psychological functions in real difficult circumstances. They weren't mistakes. They were coping mechanisms that got passed down as wisdom. The problem isn't that your parents were wrong to hold them. The problem is that you inherited survival tools for a different battlefield. And survival tools, when deployed in conditions that require growth behaviors, don't just fail to help, they actively prevent the thing. They were never designed to support. Your parents' money beliefs were built for their life. They were never designed for yours. And holding on to them out of loyalty or habit or the simple inertia of never examining them is one of the most expensive forms of inherited debt a person can carry. 3 things that actually move this needle. First, do a belief audit out loud. Write down every sentence you have ever heard about money from the people who raised you. Every phrase, every repeated comment, every silence that spoke louder than words. Then, and this is the critical step, write next to each one, whether it is factually true or whether it was a story that served a purpose at a specific time in specific circumstances, not to judge your parents, to see clearly which beliefs you're carrying as facts that are actually just inherited narratives. The moment a belief becomes visible as a belief rather than a fact, its automatic power over your behavior begins to weaken. You can't choose to respond differently to something you can't see. Visibility is the prerequisite for change. Second, find evidence that directly contradicts your inherited belief. If you were raised with rich people, are greedy, find 3 specific examples of wealthy people who use their money with extraordinary generosity and integrity. If you were raised with "our family isn't good with money," find examples within your extended family or community of people who started with the same circumstances and built something different. The brain holds beliefs in place, partly through confirmation bias, filtering evidence to support what it already believes. Deliberately feeding it, contradicting evidence is how you begin to loosen the filter. Third, separate your parents' financial story from your own. This is the most emotionally difficult of the 3, but it's also the most liberating. You can love your parents completely. You can respect everything they did with the circumstances they had. And you can also decide that their financial story doesn't have to be yours. That the end point of their journey doesn't define the starting point of a different one. Loyalty to family doesn't require loyalty to inherited limitation. Subscribe to Realveil Studios for content that goes this deep on the real psychology behind financial outcomes, the inner work that the spreadsheet and strategy advice completely misses. Hit subscribe because what we're covering next connects directly to everything in this video in ways that will genuinely surprise you. The most expensive thing you will ever own might not be a house or a car or a bad investment. It might be a sentence you heard at age 8 that you never questioned. A sentence spoken by someone who loved you in a moment of stress or struggle or genuine belief that lodged itself so deep in your understanding of how the world works that it stopped feeling like a sentence and started feeling like gravity. You don't question gravity, you just live inside it. But here's what's true. The financial ceiling most people bump against isn't made of market conditions or limited opportunity or bad luck. It's made of inherited beliefs running quietly in the background of every decision, redirecting every potential breakthrough back toward the familiar. And inherited beliefs, unlike gravity, can actually be changed. Not easily, not overnight, not by reading one article or watching one video or having one good conversation, but deliberately, systematically, with the same patience and consistency you'd apply to any other kind of meaningful change. Your parents gave you the best financial map they had. It was drawn for their territory. You're allowed to draw a new one.